Good morning, everyone. Welcome. I'm Zahira. I lead engineering for Tableau Data Management.
And my name is Yusuf. I am a product manager on the data management team.
And today we're going to talk to you about Tableau Data Management. This includes Tableau Prep, Tableau Catalog. But before we start, we wanted to ask you guys a couple of questions just to kind of gauge the level in the audience. So how many people are using Tableau Prep in your organization?
Okay. How about Tableau Catalog? Okay.
Great, awesome. So for those of you who are, we should have hopefully enough material here that kind of shows you the next level, sort of deeper level of what you can do with the product. And then for those of you who have not used it, we're also going to start with kind of background information to give you enough of an intro of what the goal is with Tableau Data Management. So with that, we'll get started. So data is like electricity. We need it today to accomplish so many things. The sheer volume of data that organizations are collecting continues to grow at an astonishing rate. Every company today is a data company. Organizations are collecting, processing, and analyzing more diverse data than ever before. And as the amount of data is increasing, so is the demand to access and analyze it. And this is becoming harder and harder because it's harder to curate that data, and the variety of data is also exploding. And on the same side of it, more people are relying on data every day to perform their daily duties. So in order for this to work, effective integrated data management is the key to bringing order to this chaos. In traditional BI models, it's quite linear, right? The flow of data starts with someone in IT who understands the data, who understands the complexity of the systems, who's responsible for creating content for people on the other side of it to actually consume that data. When the responsibility is in the hands of a few individuals, this is not scalable. So ideally, what organizations want to get to is self-service analytics at scale, where you have confidence in your data platforms. The reality, however, looks something like this, right? Data environments can be a huge, tangled mess. It's hard to understand, it's hard to add more data to them. And then there's tension. IT needs to govern the data, and people need to use data to make decisions. Many people see this as an or. It's governance or self-service. Have tight control over the data so it's not abused, or let it be the Wild West. We believe in an and solution. You need to empower both IT and analysts to get their jobs done. And adding self-service to these environments, it feels insane. It's, in some cases, all the data is going through a data lake or a data warehouse. Sometimes it's being pre-built for just one report. It's like trying to add a new power line to plug in a lamp. Governed self-service is to try and bring a balance of control and empowerment. It's designed to meet the needs of the changing data landscape. With governed self-service at scale, you can empower business users to ask and answer more questions relevant to their daily jobs. But it's even more than that. You can empower the users to share those insights with others so that they can benefit from it. In order for all of this to work, you need to make sure that the data is accurate, trusted, and secure. So smart, easy analytics has always been a Tableau's core. Over the years, we've established functionality, or we've built functionality around these analytics, so that as you scale the use of data, how can you find the right balance between freedom and governance? So earlier this year, we launched the Tableau Data Management add-on. The Tableau Data Management helps you better manage your data within your analytics environment so that trusted and up-to-date data is always used to drive decisions. So from data preparation to cataloging, search, the add-on will build more trust in your data and accelerate the adoption of self-service. So Tableau Catalog, we just launched that in 2019.3 a couple of months ago. It's built into Tableau Server and Tableau Online, and it enables you to better manage your analytics so that you can have a complete view of your data in your environment. The catalog is the hub for us to ingest and surface useful metadata. So on your data sources, tables, and databases. And then it makes this information easily accessible for your Tableau users. So it helps you to understand three things: the lineage and track the usage of data that's shared on your sites. It gives you tools to communicate the trustworthiness of this data. And it provides new data discovery capabilities so people can get easily started with asking and answering questions. The catalog focuses on both IT and the end user so that everyone using Tableau Server or online has more visibility and trust in the data. And it's fully integrated into the Tableau ecosystem. So let's talk a little bit about visibility. So the catalog automatically indexes all of your databases and tables. So you can understand what data is being used by whom. It also gives you the ability to do lineage or impact analysis, so you can understand what might happen when you need to make a change, or you can understand how that data was created. The metadata in the catalog has a full API, so it can be consumed by other enterprise catalogs. So if you're using Calibra, Alation, or Informatica, you're able to enrich your enterprise catalog and improve it both ways. So Tableau can push data into the enterprise catalog, and the enterprise catalogs can push data into the Tableau catalog. So one thing that's really unique about the metadata that's defined in the catalog, because it's so integrated with Tableau, it can flow down all the way to the users, so the people who are actually consuming the data. And so that they can start to understand, what do the fields mean? When was this data last refreshed? And finally, the catalog improves discoverability. So every creator and explorer can quickly search and find the right data for analysis at the right time. So when I want to get started in the authoring experience, I can start to use the catalog at that point to understand what data I should connect to. So that's a little bit about catalog. I'm going to hand it over to Yusuf to talk about the other part of data management that's a challenge today, and that's data prep.
All right. Thanks, Zahira. All right. So Zahira talked about Tableau Catalog, how it helps you gain visibility into all the data that's available for you, how it gives you the tools to gain confidence on whether to trust the data or not, and help you discover the data that you need. However, the data is not always readily available in a shape that is ready for you to consume and analyze. We know that your data is scattered in so many different places and systems, and in various formats. Can you remember the last time you needed to bring and combine data from multiple sources to analyze it? Or the last time you needed to clean your data and transform its shape in a shape that is ready for you to build reports and dashboards? Customers tell us that getting the data ready for analysis is difficult. What happens when you don't have a good data then? One, you either give up and you have a lot of untapped potential in the data that is not used. Find somebody to do that data transformation and cleaning for you, or you tackle that dirty job yourself and get the data ready for analysis. From the customers we talk with, we heard that they spend up to 80% of the time they spend on analytics in this data cleaning phase, and only 20% on actually analyzing the data. So what do you do today? You would maybe use Excel to build calculations and macros to clean the data. This is hard to maintain and share. Some of you might munge data in SQL or build Python scripts to do that. And a few would, with a specialized set of skills, might use some of these ETL tools to do this job. But again, a lot of the customers just give up and leave the potential of this data unused because it's not ready for analysis. So with Tableau Prep, we wanted to address this. We released it last year with two main questions in mind. One, can we make data prep as simple as building a viz in Tableau today? Smart, direct, visual. And two, can we make getting your data always up to date and fresh also simple? And with Tableau Prep Builder and Tableau Prep Conductor, we are addressing these two asks. So I'm going to start talking about Tableau Prep Builder, and I'm going to focus on some of the design principles that guided our thinking on when we built that. And we believe that those design principles are what makes it differentiated from other tools. The first is the visual and direct. And really, this is the flagship design principle for all our Tableau products. If you used Tableau Prep before, you're probably familiar with this view. You can see that there are 3 different coordinated sections in Tableau Prep. At the top, you see an overview of your entire flow. And at the bottom, you see the familiar data grid that you see in other tools. At the middle, you see these what we call profile panes. This is where most of the magic happens. It shows you a breakdown of all the values in your fields, so you can quickly validate hypotheses. So for example, if you can, by quick glance, you can tell that New York has the highest occurrence in this field. If that matches your expectations, it took you just seconds to validate that. You can also reach out and touch the data directly in this view. You can apply filters, you can exclude data, you can merge fields right in the context of the data. Same goes to combining data from multiple sources, or what we call union in Tableau Prep. Tableau Prep makes it easy to find which fields are matched, which aren't, and gives you quick affordances to match the fields that aren't matched and see the results right there to validate whether that's correct or not. Another traditionally difficult data prep operation is joins, because some customers find it difficult to trace the data that you lose with an incorrect join. So with Tableau Prep visual interface, you can safely experiment, adjust the join clauses, the types of joins, and see the results right there. And if it's incorrect, you can try something different. This is really just like Tableau, lets you safely experiment on a building a viz, try things, until you get to the results that you're looking for. The next is smart. We wanted to add algorithms to make your data prep process more efficient and fast. First thing I want to talk about is what we call intelligent execution. We let you build your flow in the order that makes sense to you. You can get the data from various places, you can combine them, apply your filters, aggregates, and build it in the way that makes sense. When we run this flow, we then smartly cascade all your filters and aggregates that you've built in various points in your flow and push those all the way down to the data source. So if you're doing some filtering, for example, and only using a small subset of the entirety of the data that you have in your input sources, we don't have to bring all of this data only to discard most of it later. Next is what we call smart grouping. Tableau Prep uses things like pronunciation or spelling to find matching values and suggest those to you that there might be some typos or misspelling or data entry errors, and suggest that you combine those together and fix the problems. Another one is data roles. Data roles are out-of-the-box preset roles that you can assign to your data fields, things like country, city, email, URL. And once you assign those to a field, Tableau Prep will detect the valid and invalid values and notify you if there are invalid ones, and even suggest you to fix them with the correct values that it knows about. And we took this even one step further. We recently added what we call custom data roles. So instead of using only the out-of-the-box data roles that Tableau Prep offers, you can build your own data roles. So if you have department names, shipment regions, things that are specific to your business, you can define that centrally, and all consumers, all users in your organization using Tableau Prep will be able to validate their fields against that data role. Finally, Tableau Prep is fully integrated in the Tableau ecosystem. It uses the same connectors that you're familiar with. It uses the same calculation language. So if you know how to do calculations today in Tableau, you already know how to do the calculations in Tableau Prep. At any step in your flow, you can choose to preview the result of your work at this point in Tableau Desktop, so you can validate the work you've done so far. And finally, once you built your flow and you're happy with the result, you can push this outcome to Tableau Server or Tableau Online as a published data source, so you can start doing your analysis and build workbooks on top of it. We also use Hyper, which is our in-memory, super fast database. We use Tableau Execution Engine to compile and run this flow. So it's fully integrated in the Tableau ecosystem. Okay, so now I built my flow and I have the data pipeline ready. The next thing I want is to operationalize it. I want to run it on a recurring basis, every hour, every day, so I am guaranteed to always have data that's fresh. I want to be notified if something goes wrong in these recurring runs. And that's what Tableau Prep Conductor is for. Tableau Prep Conductor is the server component of Tableau Prep. It's part of the data management add-on to Server and Tableau Online, along with Tableau Catalog. And it allows me, as a Tableau Prep user, to publish my flows right from Builder to Tableau Server or Tableau Online. It lets me schedule my flows to run on a recurring basis. It will notify me if something goes wrong. I will receive an email. I will receive a notification in Tableau Server. And it takes advantage of all the horsepower and the capabilities that Server have. So it uses the same permissions model. It uses the same authentication, the same scheduling infrastructure that Server has. And we haven't forgotten the admins. We also added new admin views that let the admin of the server or the Tableau Online site to gain visibility into all the Tableau Prep flows running in that server environment. So right now, I'm going to jump to do a quick Tableau Prep Builder and Prep Conductor demo. And then Zahira will do a Tableau Catalog demo, and then we'll have time for questions after that. So here in this example, I am an analyst connecting to data. And I want to, excuse me, do some transformation and shaping of this data before if it's ready for me to analyze it. If you've used Tableau Prep before, you're probably familiar with this. On the left-hand side here, I can see all the connections that are available for me in this Tableau Prep flow. I can add new connections to popular files and databases. And on the right-hand side, I can see the 3 coordinated views we talked about. In this file, I have connected to a data set that shows me results for the popular Eurovision Songs Contest. In this first data set, I can see all the countries that have participated and the results, the places and the points they scored all the years from 2010 to 2017. The profile pane, like I mentioned earlier, is fully interactive. If I click on, say, Belgium, immediately I can see that all the fields are now filtered to show me the values just for Belgium. This is an example of the visual and direct experience that we talked about. And right off the bat, I can see that Tableau Prep Builder is giving me a recommendation. It looked at the values of all the fields, and it detected that the field country have values that look like a country or a region. And I can see the same recommendation right on the same field as well. So if I click on that, it says, many values match this data role, country or region, and it's suggesting that I apply it here. And it's also providing some preview of the valid and the invalid values that are in this field if I apply the data role. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that data role. Immediately as I do that, I can see that Tableau Prep is offering another suggestion, another recommendation. It looked at the values and detected that there are a couple of values that are misspelled. And it's suggesting that I can fix the spelling of them just with one click of a button. So I'm going to do that, and just like that, I'm done. So just think about what we did. We identified that the values here are of type, country, region. We assigned the data role on that field. We found all the invalid values, and we fixed the typos that were in the data entry on this field, just in a few seconds with a couple of clicks. So that's another example of the smarts that makes your data preparation faster and easier. Okay, so what I would like to do with this data set, I want to be able to visualize the places and the points for all the countries over time in a viz, a time series. Right now, the shape this data is in, all the places and points for all the years are in separate fields. This is a common pattern you see in sales data or some transactions data where you see columns for each month or each week or so. So what I'd like to do here is I want to transform these columns into rows so I can build this visual of the places and points over time in a time series viz. So Tableau Prep let me do just that. So I'm going to add a pivot. And I'm going to pick first the place fields. I can just simply search for all the place fields and drag them to be my pivot fields. So immediately as I do that, I can see the results right in context of where I'm working. I can see that Tableau Prep Builder created a new field called Place that has all the places for all the countries and all the years, and another field that shows me all the list of the years. Okay, great. I want to do this the same for the points, which I still have. Tableau Prep Builder added recently what we call coordinated pivot. So I can build multi-layered pivots that are all coordinated together. So in this case, I'm going to pick the points and add it as a secondary layer to this pivot. And just like that, I can see that I have this many fields that were representing all the months are now summarized in a single points field, a single place field, and the years. So I have the country and year combination and the corresponding place and points. So that's excellent. That's what I want to do. I just want to do a couple of quick cleanups. I want to get rid of this place word in the year, so that's so it is a clean year field. And Tableau Prep is already ahead of me. I can see that there is already a recommendation that is suggesting I should perhaps do a split based on the values of this field, which is exactly what I want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And let's get rid of the fields that we don't need. And now I have a clean year field, and I can rename it right in context. Okay, great. So this 2010 to 2017 data set is ready for me to analyze it. I happen to have the 2018 results in a different data set. So now I want to combine those before I analyze all the years in a viz. So I'm going to let's zoom in, going to drag this data set and drop it on the union, which is combining similar data sources together. So let's see what happened. Tableau Prep Builder have matched some of the fields automatically for me. The names have matched in both sources, and it's already matched, and I can use the color coding to validate where they came from. So I can simply, with a glance, know that country and year are already matched. But it found some mismatched fields right here. Likely because the field names on both sides are similar but not identical. If I click on points, for example, Tableau Prep detects that there are another field on the other side that is somewhat similar in the spelling, and it highlights it for me because chances are this is the field I want to match it. Another example of the smart capabilities to make my process of the cleaning data easier and faster. So I'm going to go ahead and with a click of a button match these two fields. Same for place. Okay, great. So now I have my data 2010 all the way 2018 combined, cleaned, and ready for analysis. But before I create an output and I start analyzing it, the last thing I want to do is I want to add some information. I want to augment it with some information about where these events took place over the years. And I just happen to have another data set that shows me where each of the contests every year took place, what the hosting country and the hosting city and the venue it took place in. And I have this data all the way back to 1956. So in this case, I want to augment my original data set, so I want to do a join. So I'm going to go ahead and just drag this like we did, but in this case, I will drop it on the join option. And Tableau Prep have detected that the most likely join clause is the year from either sides, which happened to be the case here. So that's great. If it wasn't, I can easily change that. It also picked the join type to be an inner join, which means I will keep only the data that exists on both sides, which is what I want to do here. I can change that as well. And then it shows me a summary of the results of this join. If this result doesn't match what I expect, I can change the join clause or the join type and keep experimenting till I find exactly the results I want. And here on the right-hand side, I can see quickly with the color coding that the years from 2010 to 2018 are all matched, and the years 2009 all the way back to 1956 are not matched, which is exactly what I expect. Okay, great. So now my data is ready to be analyzed. So I'm going to go ahead and create an output. And I have a few options here. I can create the output to a file, so I can build a CSV file or a .hyper file with the data. But in this case, I want to publish this output to Tableau server so I can have my team build workbooks and analytics on top of it. So I choose to publish as a server, and I happen to be connected to a server already. I pick a project, give it a name, and I can run my flow, and this will publish the output to Tableau server. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to publish the entire flow to Tableau server with Prep Conductor enabled, with data management add-on, and do the running and the scheduling on server instead of running it on my machine. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So right here in server, I see an option to publish my flow. So I choose that. It tells me that the flow exists already, so I'm going to give it a new name, and I'm going to publish. And just like that, the flow was published to Tableau server. Here is my flow in Tableau server that has data management on it. I can see an overview of my entire flow. I can see a list of all my outputs. In this case, I only have one output, but you can have any number of outputs you need. I can click Run Quickly to run this flow if I want to right now, or I can choose to create a task that run this flow on a recurring basis. So I'm going to pick every night at 11 p.m., for example, and I'm going to create this task. You can see all the connections that are present in this flow, input or output connections. I can see all the schedules that are associated with this flow. Here is the one that I just created, and you can have a number of flows. Let's say you have multiple outputs in your flow. You can choose some outputs run on daily basis and others run on weekly basis, for example. And I can see a list of all the previous results of this flow showing me information like the number of rows it generated and the time it took to run this flow. And here's the one that I just kicked off seconds ago. Tableau Prep Conductor is fully integrated in server. I can see flows next to all my other server artifacts. It uses the same scheduling infrastructure. So if I create a new schedule, now I can see an option to create schedules just for flows. And it uses the same permissions and authentication infrastructure that you're familiar with in Tableau server. And like I mentioned earlier, we did not forget about the admins. We added a brand new admin view called Flow Performance History that shows the admin an overview of all the flows running in server, the time they are taking, give them options to filter down those based on name of the flow, outputs, the owners, and the duration of it. So if the admin wants to see the long-running flows in my environment, I can easily find that, so I can reach out to the people running them. And like Zahira mentioned, we believe that there is a balance between self-service and governance that the data management is trying to achieve. And with that, I'm going to hand it to Zahira to talk about Tableau Catalog.
Yeah. Thank you, Yusuf. The one thing that I did want to add that for people who watched, the keynote yesterday, we do have, right to database as well now that we announced yesterday. It's not in this build, but in addition to like Hyper and CSV, Prep can now, or will soon be able to output to a database. And the devs on stage keynote showed some other really cool features as well, which we didn't demo here. Okay, so I'm going to sort of walk through the role of, I'm a data steward, and it's my job to make sure that it's easy for analysts to find, manage, and understand whether they're using trusted data or not. So as Yusuf mentioned, here we're on Tableau server with the data management add-on, enabled, and with Tableau Catalog enabled. So with this new external assets option, now you can see all the databases, files, and tables that Tableau users are connected to. So for instance, I can see that there's this airlines database that's used by 7 workbooks, one data source, and it's a SQL Server database. So let's sort by workbooks, and let's take a look at this database. So the first thing that you can see here is that this database is certified. And so I know now that I can trust this data. Let's take a look further. So I'm going to click and drill in. And now what I can see here is I can see all the tables in this database. I can see usage information for the tables. And I can also see the fields that are in this table. But I can also drill in even deeper now into this, into the tables. So let's take a look at the customer table. Here I can see all the columns. I can see the usage information. And this is also where I can see the descriptions, see and set the descriptions for the columns, so that users, the Tableau users, can know what this column means and when it should be used. So this is like a data dictionary for your table, plus popularity information. All of this that I just showed you is done without any setup required. So when you turn on catalog on the server, behind the scenes, we're indexing the database and table information, and we create a graph where we're connecting all these artifacts. And so when you publish a new workbook, or when Yusuf published a flow to server, the graph updates, and then this information is surfaced. So from a Tableau server admin perspective, you're just checking a box to turn on catalog, and this information is getting surfaced. So let's take a look at the right side of the screen, and this is what we call the lineage tool. And as you saw for those of you who watched the keynote yesterday, you saw in the keynote that what this tool allows you to do is to understand the relationships with the artifacts that different artifacts have to this table. But it's more than just the usage information. You can also use this to navigate across the related content. So I can see that there's one flow that depends on this column, 4 data sources, 10 workbooks, and I can also see what database this table came from. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on customer segment and keep an eye on the lineage tool. And when I click on customer segment, you'll see that the lineage tool updated to show me what assets are using this column. So I can see that there's 4 sheets, 4 workbooks that are using this column. I'm going to do it again, but this time I'm going to click on region. And so you can filter the lineage tool to understand the impact of a particular column, or like making a change to a particular column would have. So I'm a data steward, I own this table, and I know that the sales regions are changing. And so what I can see from the lineage tool is that there are 2 users who own content that use this column. And now I want to let them know that we're going to be changing the sales regions. So within catalog, I can just click on it, select all, and I can send an email to notify them. Now, in this case, we only had 2 users, but you can imagine if there was hundreds of users, select and send an email. And you're sending a targeted email. So consider what we just did, right? We can see lineage information. We can see the impact of a change that we want to make, and we can notify users directly, all within catalog. Now, how can the people who are consuming data, the Tableau users, how can they know what's happening with the data, and how can they trust the data that they are looking at? So earlier I showed you, that this data source was certified, and so you can set certification, but you can certify data sources or tables and databases. But the other thing that catalog adds is something that we call data quality warnings. So now you can set a data quality warning to let people know about things like maintenance, or something is degraded, all types of different issues. Or a warning. You can let the consumers of the data know by setting a data quality warning. So I own this table, and I know it's going to be going under maintenance. So I'm going to set a data quality warning. So just go here, set a quality warning. I'll enable warning, and there's different options here. Warning, deprecated stale data. So I'm going to select under maintenance, and I'll save it. And because the catalog is integrated with Tableau Server, all this information now flows to the consumers of Tableau Server. So let's take, for example, this view. right? Here is a dashboard where we're looking at sales versus profit by customer segment. Now, as a user of this data, how can I know whether I should trust this dashboard? How can I know what data it's using? Where can I find out more information? So now with Tableau Catalog, there's a new option, Data Details, in the toolbar. And so when I click on Data Details, in this pane, all the information from the catalog is flowing right through here. And so I can see the data source, I can see that it's a live connection, and I can also see the data quality warning that we just added flow right through. So all this information is now flowing through to your users. But that's not all. The other part of Catalog that we wanted to talk to you about today is Catalog helps improve the discovery experience. So if I want to get started with creating a dashboard, how can I know what data to use? How can I know whether to trust that data or not? So in Tableau Server, right, with Tableau Server Search, what we've also added now is, in addition to the Tableau assets, you can also see tables and databases show up. If you want to, we've also added the same functionality and integration in the authoring experience. So if I'm a creator and I want to start creating a workbook, I'll go to Create Workbook. And just like before, you can pick the right data source. But now with Catalog, the databases, files, and tables also that are in the catalog also surface here. So when I look at table, it's sorted here by popularity information. And the data quality warning that we just added also shows up here. So this information, I can see it even as I'm starting to create the dashboard. We have added search functionality, so you can do a quick search here, and it will surface, based on the table name and based on the field information. And then with one click, you just click on Connect. The server and database are automatically populated for you. So gone are the days when you need to remember the server and database name, put in your credential information, sign in, and you're connected. So the three sort of big pillars for Catalog that we just walked through, one is visibility, right? Just giving you a view of all the data in your server and how people are using it. And then the other one is trust, right? The ability to give you tools to notify your users, the ability for that information to propagate to the consumers of the visits. And then the last thing really is around discovery, enhanced discovery. And so making it easier for users to get started with creating visits and dashboards to answer their questions. So that's overall the Tableau data management add-on and the functionality that we have today, and we're continuing to innovate and based on your guys' feedback, on customer feedback, add more functionality to make it easier to balance self-service analytics with governance.
So we do recognize that we are what's between you and lunch, but we want to open it now for questions, and yeah, please.